And now for part 2 of my little Maul Shadow Lord retrospective roundup thing. Series which is now extended to 4 parts, because next week, bumping back the failure of episode 8, shall be the downfall of Devon Azara, which will be a positive video, because I think her character arc was done quite well in Shadow Lord. But anyways, this is not about Devon Azara. This is about Maul's crew, an aspect of a show which I think was not done very well. And this video will be in 4 parts. You'll see why in a moment. Part 1, the bad throughout. And this part belongs to the Mandalorians, the random Mandalorians, not Rook Kast. She will appear later. The Mandalorians in this show are so pointless. We don't get any sense of how many of them there are throughout the show. I think by the end of it, that specifically by episode 7, the episode where most of them die, they have clarified or cleared up that there are 8 Mandalorians he has in total, 2 of which die on his side, fighting for him, 3 of which die in the shuttle, and then 3 of which stay with him to die later. Of those 8, one of them is given minor characterization as somebody who's just in it for the money. There's technically a couple are, but one of them actually gets a name. No, I don't remember the name. No, I'm not going to bother looking it up. But, so yeah, we get one guy with a name, and he's the one who I really care about, because the others are nameless, they're background guys. So I'm going to focus on just him, really. I'm not going to say his name, because yet again, I don't know what it is. And, well, what is there to say about him, really? He is not a character at all. They vaguely tease that there are some Mandalorians who are just in it for the money in, I think, episode 4? Might be episode 3. I don't know. Or would it be 5 or 6? I don't remember. They vaguely teased in one of the earlier episodes that some of the Mandalorians are just in it for the money. And back when the episode was airing, I was, oh yes, this is something that they can use. There are going to be some Mandalorians who turn against Maul, and their impact will be felt. Except their impact is not felt because, well, as I said many times, there's no sense of how many Mandalorians he had with him. If you told me he had 3 Mandalorians with him from the word go, I would have believed you. I'm not even sure if we've seen more than 3 Mandalorians in a single scene before episode 7. Do we? I honestly don't know if we see more than that many Mandalorians. I guess we see a couple more, but also 2 of them get shown dying on the bridge. So, like, more than 5 Mandalorians. Do more than 5 Mandalorians ever appear on screen or imply that there are more than 5 Mandalorians in his crew prior to episode 7? Because I'm not convinced the answer to that question is yes. Which, when you then realise that him losing 3 to go in traitor and then them dying immediately is so pointless. Like, they could have had a point, which is about Rook Kast's arc, except I will get to her later. So, the fact that some of the Mandalorians went traitor, led by this guy who we have literally no idea who he is, he gets introduced as a character in the same episode he dies, and he's not enough of a character for me to even remember his name. Well, what am I supposed to care about him? Oh no, somebody who I did not know about went traitor and immediately died. What a tragedy. However, will Maul recover from this? No, I am not using my dry, monotone voice because I do not care. Yeah, I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to say about him? He is not a character to care about. Part 2. Non-characters, cool deaths. And this part belongs to, well, the 2 Night Brothers. They have names. They are never mentioned in the show. They're only mentioned in the credits, I believe. And I don't know who they are. Anything about them other than they are following Darth Maul. And one of them was sad when his brother died. Like the only thing I can say about them that makes it actually more better than the Mandalorians, really, is they had cool moments. We had scenes where they were useful and powerful and took down big, important things. We never got that out of Mandalorians, at least. And, well, then we get to the part where they're actually useful and important as characters. They both have cool, badass, meaningful deaths. The first one, I don't remember which one it is, dies jumping down to save Darth Maul. And from the Inquisitors, sacrificing himself to save Maul. And he does save Maul. So, hey, good job, whichever one you are. You made your brother sad for dying. And, well, yeah. I mean, poor him, poor his brother. I don't really know who he is. Well, at least he had a cool death. And we'd seen that they had cool feats and they were powerful, bringing down gunships. And the other one is still not a character even after his brother dies. You know, we could have seen how he reacted to that instead of just being sad and looking at. He didn't even have anything from his brother to be looking sad at, because his brother's not a character. So we can't have him looking at anything to know and that's his brother's thing, because we don't know who his brother is. Ugh. Then he eventually dies, and he also goes out like a badass. He runs out of ammo in his guns, or it gets jammed or something. Then he tosses it aside, throws some knives at some stormtroopers before jumping on them, tossing them into the acid pit, and they die. And that is, again, a really cool death. We don't know who he is as a person, but hey, at least he died cool. Then we reach part 3. Cool character, nothing death. And, well, this award goes to, of course, none other than Rook Kast. Rook Kast is the only one of the crew so far that has actually been given any characterization. And I think that her characterization throughout the show was actually quite good. I cared about Rook Kast. I thought she was a cool, interesting character with an arc that was going to go somewhere. She had clear loyalty and love and for Maul as the leader, true and rightful leader of Mandalore, which, honestly, if you think about it, by Mandalorian customs, he was beaten. Not just once, but twice. So, arguably, she shouldn't be following him, but she still chooses to follow him because neither of the people who beat her claim to be the leader of Mandalore. The Emperor beat him and then just left, and Ahsoka beat him and then left Mandalore in charge of Bo-Katan. Neither of them wanted to claim the throne of Mandalore. Maul was the last person to defeat the leader of Mandalore and claim it as his own. So he's still the leader of Mandalore. And that distinction is something that's interesting. It's a place you can work with. Especially if in a later season, perhaps, she encounters, say, I don't know, Bo-Katan. I don't remember quite what she's up to at this point of the timeline, but I'm sure we could have finagled a way for them to meet. And test her loyalty there. Because Bo-Katan was the leader of Mandalore. She was part of the team that overthrew Maul. How does Rook Kast feel about that? Also, Bo-Katan, I believe, locked Rook Kast up and Maul broke Rook Kast out. How does she feel about that? There's a whole lot of stuff you can do with Bo-Katan or really just Rook Kast. But also, even just within the pure confines of this show, Rook Kast is shown to have loyalty to Maul, but she does not believe he is doing the right things, trying to take Devon Azara as his apprentice. She believes that he is tossing away opportunities, tossing away the ability to expand, to grow, to do what they must do, to survive. But she is loyal to Maul, so she follows him into it. And ultimately, she does not die for... if we want her to die, she should die for that. Or some way around that. Preferably, I'd have her survive beyond this season into season 2 or 3, where she eventually has a confrontation about Maul over his repeated insistence on Devon, and then dies, maybe even at the hands of Devon. Maybe she figures out that Devon is actually is just pretending to be loyal to Maul. I don't know if that's where Devon's arc is going, but presuming it is, she figures out that Devon's pretending to be loyal to Maul, so Devon kills her to keep that secret. So ultimately, she is killed because she followed Maul, protecting Devon, but without trusting Devon. That is an interesting place for a character to go. Although, let's say, okay, we don't want to keep her around. We want to kill off all Maul's crew for whatever reason we have. We would need to kill them all off because reasons. We don't want them in the rest of the show. I'd argue that's a bad idea, especially with Rook Kast, but whatever, that's the direction we're going. Okay, so what do we need to do? What has been notable about Rook Kast? One, she's clearly loyal to Maul, almost to a fault, and she's been fighting against the Mandalorians who pay for money because they are not loyal to Maul. They're loyal to the money he's giving them. And three, she does not believe Maul's making the right moves with Devon Azara. So we need to have her be killed. To enter her arc properly, we need to have something about those all come together. We've kind of can't really do the money thing because that doesn't really fit anywhere at all. And she already sort of had that connection, that plot line kind of wrapped up. Again, this is why we need her to survive so she can have these interactions with people later down the line about the money and why she's following Maul. But she should have died because she was loyal to Maul and because of some way about Devon Azara. Now, I feel like there's two fairly reasonable ways to have done this. One, first off, I'm going to say why I think that her actual death completely fails at that. Because why did she die? She dies because she went off on a scouting mission, which has nothing to do with any of her loyalty to Maul or because of Devon at all. She went on a scouting mission because they heard some noises out in the forest, or they're just doing a general scouting mission. Like, that's just good military tactics. Like, you go out and you scout, and then that happened to backfire on her, so she died. And she got killed off screen. Maybe she survived that. I mean, we heard some bones crunching as she went off screen. And I think I've heard somewhere that Rook Kast's voice actress has said something about wanting to show her having like her heart ripped out of her flesh or something like that, which I get why they didn't want to show that on screen. But like, they did leave open the possibility that she survived. I don't think she should have survived given what happened, but she might have. Anyways, yeah, so she died off screen, nothing to do with literally any of her arc. You could have replaced her with a random one of the Mandalorians and a big whoop. Hey, you know what actually would be neat? And how a nice way to replace all that? Give Rook Kast a jetpack. If she has a jetpack, I mean, you can show her using it in some cool ways in some of the previous fight scenes. But then in the acid scene, instead of having two of the Mandalorians die before they are able to cross, have two of the Mandalorians get on the skiff thing, have those go across. Maybe they don't have jetpacks, only Rook Kast does. Then once Spybot gets cut in half, have her go, okay, I'm going to fly out, have her be protecting Maul, then have her fly over the bridge, and have Maul and have Maul and the Jedi jump across the bridge, all hunky dory there. Right? That's work. That's great. All functional there. And that's a simple way to get them across, and we don't need to worry about weird ferrying people numbers that would get an accidentally extra amount of people over. Then we send off two random Mandalorians off into the woods. One of them dies in the woods. The other comes running back and goes, there's something in there, and dies, just like Rook Kast does. But it doesn't really matter because they aren't really characters. But we still get the full, oh shit, something's out there moment that we got with Rook Kast. But now Rook Kast is still alive. Now we have Rook Kast alive. So then during the first sword fight, where they're fighting on Vader, we now have Rook Kast in there. She can add an extra bit of dimensionality to the fight against Vader. And then once Devon goes off, have Maul tell her, protect my apprentice, or words to that effect. Protect Devon, protect whatever. Doesn't really matter. So he sends Rook Kast off to protect Devon, which then Rook Kast helps fend off the two Inquisitors. So we help justify Devon surviving against those two Inquisitors for as long as she does. Because honestly, I think it's kind of bullshit in the show how Devon survives that long. But that's not the point of this video. So then Rook Kast goes, protects Devon from those two Inquisitors. Maybe have her get cut down here. Although I'd have her be cut down a bit later. But anyways, you then have Rook, then as Devon runs off into the fort temple, have Rook Kast in there as well, holding off Crow. Maybe even have Rook Kast be the one to knock Mark off the edge instead of Echo, Diodaki. Doesn't really matter the exact details around this fight. But then have Rook Kast die protecting Devon. So we're showing that she dies protecting Devon because that is what her master wanted. In the end, she chooses her loyalty to Maul over her own personal misgivings about Maul's plans. Like, that is a character arc. Rook Kast has been constantly questioning Maul, and in the end, she goes, okay, I might be questioning you, but I will still die for your beliefs. I will still stand for what you do. Again, like I said, I would like it if she'd lasted longer so we could do more interesting things with her. But if we want to have her killed off in this season, that is the way to do it, in my opinion. Have her die protecting Devon. Plus, if we do it my way, we get some Mandalorians with jetpacks, which are way cooler than Mandalorians without jetpacks. I do not know what the obsession is with Disney Star Wars and not giving Mandalorians jetpacks. Sabine Wren, throughout almost the entirety of Rebels, doesn't have a jetpack for some fucking reason. I still don't understand that. Din Djarin, I think, also spends a lot of the Mandalorian without a jetpack. Like, why don't you give them jetpacks? Jetpacks are the cool thing about Mandalorians. At least in live action, I can see, like, okay, it's a bit goofy to have a fight with a jetpack. I get why you don't necessarily want it there, but they work in animation. We've seen that with the Mandalorians in the Clone Wars. Why don't we give Mandalorians jetpacks? Anyways, yes. Rook Kast had such wasted potential in her death. She could have gone on to be so much more, so much better. Like, even just small tweaks. And changes just episode, I guess technically the end of episode 7, but also, so she's in episode 8 and dies in episode 8 properly, rather than at the tail end of episode 7, it should have been episode 8. Like, if we'd just done that, she would have been a much better and more interesting character as a totality than what she is in the actual release, in my opinion. Anyways, then we get to part 4. Great character, great death. And, well, you've seen my last video, I assume. Or maybe you haven't, I don't know. Yes, of course, this is Spybot. I'm not really going to repeat much of what I said about Spybot. Go watch that video if you want to know about him. But he is so well characterized in literally every single moment that it feels like he almost sucked up all the characterization, time, and opportunities for Maul's crew and sucked them all up right into himself. And, like, he's more characterized than Rook Kast, and his death is actually good and proper and meaningful. Spybot doesn't really have a character arc to go through. He's just with Maul, and Maul likes him. And he likes Maul. So, like, when he dies, doing his job, ferrying people across, protecting Maul, and even in his near-dying moments, we're still getting those bits of characterization out of him, like with the no touchy or whatever it is he says to Riley, as he's pulling him across the bridge and stuff like that. And then when he dies saying, "Master," as he then falls into the acid. And chef's kiss. I love that scene. I love Spybot. I'm sad he's dead, but oh well. And then I guess surprise part 5 that I wasn't even really thinking of. Vario. He's a fun character. He doesn't die. He's going to be in the future of the show. I don't really have much to say about Vario because Vario's just a funny little guy. And he's great. I love him. But there's not really anything to say about him. He likewise doesn't really have much of a character arc. He's kind of does, I guess. He goes from fearing Maul to fearing Maul but being on Maul's side. And there was a bit of a tease of a bit of a characterization within the I think it's the start of episode 3 where Maul goes and descends upon the Pikes, the Pike leader. There's a bit of something there with him feeling like he's about to betray Maul and pacify him to bring him before Maul Krim, but then that's turned out to all be a ploy. So he's nervous because his nervousness there is interesting. Like there's something around there, and then at the end he goes, "I'm big and strong. I'm big, or big." I don't quite remember what he says, but he keeps quite literally bigging himself up to make himself feel bigger and better. And as he goes off, and I think he pretends to guard to. I don't pretend. He distracts the gun while the Lawsons take it out. And hey, that's cool. That worked. It's a great moment. Vario's... I don't really have anything bad to say about Vario. I don't really have anything great to say about him either. And, well, I think that is all of Maul's crew, really. 2 failed characters, 2 failed deaths, and, well, and two good characters and 2 good deaths. So I guess, 50-50 odds? Except they failed to actually connect the good deaths to the good characters. For some reason, I don't really know why. Hey. Yeah, they're just underwhelming as a whole. And I wish there was more. Anyways, like I was teasing, next week, the fall of Devon Azara.